Morning, we're also joined by another Washington elected leader, this time from the House. Representative Adam Smith is here with us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Well, Congressman, we're about a month into Trump's second term as president, and we've seen quite a bit of changes. This time he has Elon Musk as a direct advisor, a part of his administration. Do you view the actions that Musk has taken so far as a part of DOGE as potentially as a positive or helpful to the government in terms of spending long term? Or do you think there's a better way to address budget and spending concerns or issues?
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing helpful about what Elon Musk is doing and how he's doing DOGE. This doesn't have anything to do with government efficiency or effectiveness. He's firing wide swaths of people based on nothing to do with how good they are at their jobs, how important their job is. It just seems like a very, very random process to terrorize the federal workforce and undermine its ability to be effective, and also to really focus on loyalty to Trump, not on whether or not they're doing a good job, but do they sign up for loyalty to Trump? And that's not going to build an efficient and effective workforce.
So it's more of like the shock and awe. We've cut this many jobs and potentially this much money is being returned to the taxpayer.
It's vastly worse than that. It is trying to cripple the federal workforce. You would not go at making any sort of business more efficient and effective in this manner. I mean, they're firing oversight, they're firing inspector generals, they fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's an incredibly capable and intelligent person, who, by the way, is doing important work on a day in and day out basis. What they're trying to do is cripple the federal workforce so that Elon Musk and Donald Trump have more power. This doesn't have anything to do with making the federal workforce work better or efficiency and effectiveness.
Do you have concerns about Musk's legal authority with some of these things he's been doing so far?
Absolutely. But it's really Trump's legal authority as well. I mean, Musk is terrible, awful, and horrible. Trump's the one who gave him the power to do it. Trump is violating the law, and also there are a lot of court orders out there blocking these actions. And the Trump administration is ignoring federal court orders right now, which does constitute a constitutional crisis. They are ignoring the legitimate authority of the judiciary.
Now, Congressman, you serve as a ranking member of the House Armed Service Committee. Defense contracts, defense spending could come into play as DOGE starts moving from agency to agency. What's being done right now to ensure that you have the number of workers, the qualified workers needed to do the work of the federal government, and making sure that you also have the funding for any necessary means that the armed forces needs?
Well, it's the real frustrating part about this. The Pentagon can get more efficient and more effective. There is a lot of waste. There is a lot of inefficiency there. The requirements process, the rules and regulations, there's ways that you can fix that, as opposed to just going in and firing people in order to instill loyalty. So it is a horrible, horrible situation. What we can do and what we are doing is, number one, you sue, which we have to try and block that, but also we have to build up more public support. We have to make the public aware of what is going on and to let them understand this is not a traditional Democrat-Republican partisan fight. Oh, he said, she said, one way or the other. This is a fundamental attack on the basis of our representative government and the rules and laws that have been in place for a couple hundreds of years. We can have a great argument about what programs government should fund, what they shouldn't fund, how we make it more efficient and more effective. But what Musk and Trump are doing, again, they are terrorizing the federal workforce in order to try to assert personal control. What's the agenda? How does it help to fire a bunch of people at FAA? How does it help to fire 300 people who are responsible for protecting our nuclear weapons and making sure that they are safe? Okay, so I think we need to really focus on the fact that this is not just about government efficiency and effectiveness. Okay, this is about Trump and Musk wanting to create a situation where they can do whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it, without any check on their power. And that is directly contrary to what our representative democracy is supposed to be.
And hypothetically, you could create DOGE, but then make it bipartisan, put some elected officials into it, make it a committee, so to speak, and kind of go through spending and budgets that way, is what you're saying. Yeah, look, this could work.
Totally. And look, when this was first announced, I reached out to the DOGE committee. I wanted to meet with Elon Musk. Apparently, I didn't rate for that, but I met with a lower level person in the DOGE thing and talked about, look, we've been working on government efficiency issues, particularly within the Pentagon, on the House Armed Services Committee for a number of years. I got a lot of ideas, as does the chairman of the committee, Mike Rogers. Again, not what they're doing, okay? They're simply trying to assert personal control over the federal government.
Now, just 3 days ago, Congressman, 200 migrants from Venezuela were flown out of Guantanamo Bay, briefly housed there in sort of like a staging area. There's discussions of other bases in the United States to be used as the alternate locations before migrants are sent back to countries they may have come from. If it were recommended, would you support JBLM as a place to temporarily house and detain migrants?
Right now, I wouldn't support anything without careful examination that Donald Trump is talking about doing when it comes to immigration. Because again, it is an over-the-top, lock everybody up. I mean, sending them to Guantanamo, there's no necessity for that. Yes, we should enforce immigration law, no doubt about it, but I would have serious questions about any effort that they're making, because it seems more designed, again, to assert power, go outside the normal bounds of the law, the normal bounds of the courts. So I would have to look very closely at any proposal that they would have.
One of the last things we'd love to touch on with you is that, overnight, you've probably already seen that there was a large drone attack on Ukraine from Russia, a record number according to Ukraine's Armed Forces Command. Tomorrow marks 3 years since this conflict began. What is your level of confidence in the Trump administration in trying to end this conflict? And are there things being done right now that you think are the steps in the right direction?
Yeah, I'm deeply concerned. I mean, the way President Trump, Vice President Vance, and the entire administration have completely abandoned Ukraine and given the Putin talking points. Look, we have to get to a negotiated settlement, but saying that Ukraine started the war, excusing Putin's brutal, unjustified invasion of Ukraine and the way he's conducting that war, and crucially, the only way this war stops is if Putin thinks he can't take all of Ukraine, which is the support for Ukraine is crucial. Nobody in the Trump administration has said, we're going to keep supporting Ukraine. Security guarantees for Ukraine are an absolute cornerstone of any peace agreement. They're not saying that, and they're leading Putin to believe that we will abandon Ukraine so that Putin can do whatever he wants there. It is incredibly shameful the way the Trump administration has embraced Vladimir Putin.
What type of domino effect would that have if that were to go forward that way?
Yeah, look, the huge problem here is Donald Trump is trying to bring us back to the 19th century, okay, when might makes right. If a powerful country wanted to take over another country, well, that's just the way it is. And Trump's rhetoric about talking about invading Greenland and the Panama Canal, making Canada the 51st state, also plays directly into Putin's rhetoric. And look, that 19th century world of superpowers that we tried to stay out of, okay, it led to World War I and World War II. It led to almost destroying the entire planet because you have to have some set of rules that you try to enforce. And Trump is talking about basically, it's like if Putin wants Ukraine, I guess it's up to him, and then talking about the U.S. doing the same thing. It undermines any effort at global peace. And I will remind everybody that until the very end, there were no nuclear weapons in World War I and World War II. What he's doing is vastly more dangerous now. I haven't even heard Donald Trump say Ukraine is a sovereign, democratic state that has a right to self-determination that Russia is violating. I mean, that's a core basic principle that he seems to be abandoning in favor of his ever-growing support for autocracy.
Representative Adam Smith, thank you so much for joining us this morning on King 5.
Thank you.